somebody was flexing their ego on me and on some other people, and they were like, how much money do you make? Tell me about your business. Tell me about your cars. Tell me about who you are. And I'm like, whoa, back it up. And that person literally the next day on stage struggled big time because they were trying to flex all these muscles.
And guess what, too? The other thing I would imagine is we're going to do this for 6 months. We're going to test it.
Yeah, see if it
We're
works.
We're going to see what isn't working, and we're going to tweak it.
Tweak it.
Yeah. And then we'll go another 6 months, and then we'll tweak it again.
And normally what's interesting is usually veteran agents or realtors that have been in it for a while have bad habits, and they don't realize they're cutting corners or they're leaving money on the table. We're here for another podcast episode. I'm with Adam. I'm Koby. And today we're going to talk about Maverick. Went to a real estate conference with John Cheplak, and it's always fantastic. It's always a lot of fun. And what
Very emotional, too.
And very emotional. A lot of crying, which sounds bizarre. A lot of like connecting and spiritual and healing. And it just reminds you of the little things that you could be doing better.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's good to be number one in the city or the state or you know, getting the pat on the back or being told like you're amazing and you do all these great things. But I think you need to be around rooms where like people challenge you and push you and call you out on your stuff.
Yeah, and in all categories, not just business. I noticed when I've gone to those events in the past, it's a lot of like, you know, like think of that group. A lot of people in that Cheplak organization, a lot of them don't drink anymore.
Yep.
They live these very like intentional lives with their family, their faith, their fitness.
Uh-huh.
And
it's not just how to sell more houses.
Yeah, and then the business just kind of comes too. Yep. So, but it's all the little things they do.
Yeah, because John talks about it's literally all of those things that impact and affect your business. It's like, you know, you don't get enough sleep. As you get older, you aren't going to perform at the level you need to be without sleep. You know?
That's why you got to wear a Whoop.
So you know when to go to bed.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're getting older.
Yeah, you got to track your sleeping patterns.
Yeah. But it's just so interesting because again, it's not like a hoorah, pump up. It's not like a stand up and go crazy seminar. I mean, it's none of those things. And, surprisingly, a lot of it is not related to real estate. So it's trying to figure out how you can get sharper, mentally stronger, how you can elevate your business. And it's not, oh, how do I get more leads or what's your CRM? Or you can always tell when people go to one of John's events when they start, because they're always asking, what do you pay for splits? Well, how do you get leads? How do you do this? And it's just real estate, transaction. And then you can tell people that have been there before, they don't talk about transactions. They don't talk about real estate. They're talking about their personal lives and how they've elevated and changed who they are and what they do. And it's not like really any conference that I've ever been to.
No ego.
Yeah, there's no ego.
Yeah.
And you can tell when people, our first night actually, I could tell, you can always tell when somebody's new. Somebody was flexing their ego on me and on some other people, and they were like, how much money do you make? Tell me about your business. Tell me about your cars. Tell me about who you are. And I'm like, whoa, back it up. And that person literally the next day on stage struggled big time because they were trying to flex all these muscles. And it's like, you're in the top 1% or top 5% of people in the country.
Yeah.
What's the point of flexing?
Probably top 0.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point of flexing? But I think and I think we've said this before, but going to that conference, you never learn anything groundbreaking. There isn't like that one moment where you're like, oh, well, now I learned how to master YouTube, or I learned how to master Follow-Up Boss, or I learned that there's this person that can unlock these secrets, right? Like, we're always looking for shortcuts, but it's literally the same message that John has been saying to us for, 3 years.
Yeah.
And we continue to go back and we continue to listen to him, and we continue to be like, oh yeah, I remember he did say that 2.5 years ago. Now I'm in the place where I can make a change.
Yeah. It's a lot of, it's boring, repetitive, but even we sometimes need to get reminded in the business dealings of like, oh yeah, we need to go back to that basic boring thing and remind our agents that as well.
Yeah. It's trying to deliver that message. So it's always difficult because you want to come back and bring value to your team, right? Like, you're spending money on it. And when the agents are asking me, what was the one thing you took away, or what's something you're going to implement, it's kind of like hard to describe. But at the end of the day, every person that goes on stage or everybody that you meet there has some way that they're killing it in real estate, right? Like
I
you meet
mean,
someone and they're killing it with YouTube, for sale by owners, cold calling scripts. They have an amazing ISA team. They have this new cool AI software. They've got this, like everyone's finding a way to earn a ton of money at a high level, and it's nothing like we do. So I guess my advice to people is if you're going to go and you think you're going to reinvent the wheel or you're going to try to steal somebody else's work, it's never going to be successful because you are not that person, right? Does that make sense? So like you go there and you think, oh, this person does this on YouTube, so therefore I'm going to be that on YouTube. But that's not who you are, and you're going to end up being called out. You're not going to do it the right way. You're going to think it's unsuccessful because it's not your way of running your business, you know?
Yep.
So I think it's just that kind of stuck out to me. And then what are some things that we wanted to bring over to our team? I think 2 identifying factors that I really learned was the buyer's discussion, or when we have a buyer's consultation, that's more important now more than ever, since we talked about it last week with the NAR,
Yep.
right? And then changing your listing presentation, not just explaining, why they pay you, but as the industry continues to evolve with AI, competition, with commission being compressed,
Downward pressure on commission.
downward
yeah.
pressure, we have to find a way to
Cost
stand out.
to market homes
Yeah.
goes up. Yeah.
We have to find a way to like stand out. So those were the 2 big things that I wanted to really bring to our team and, to you obviously, was I want to try to elevate our buyers and our sellers consultations.
Yep.
Right. And if we don't get better at that, I think we're going to get left behind. So those were 2 things that really stand out, to me. Is there anything that maybe you can think of that you want to talk about on the buyer side or the seller side that stand out to you?
Well, as we've been talking about our listing presentation and like the different menu of services. So, because a lot of times when I go on a listing, I ask a series of questions to basically get to know their situation, how I can best help them, to see if we're even a fit. And generally, I can ask so many questions that I just get to know their situation enough to where when I'm there, I don't have to go into this big presentation of why me and all this. It's focused on them and how I'm going to be able to best serve them. So I don't go with the PowerPoint. I don't go with anything other than I go with a notebook essentially to take notes on anything new they tell me. To go over the game plan that we're going to have for them. And then of course to go over the comparables to show them this is where and why your home should be placed at this price in this market. And we have that discussion, and that way I can visually show them that. But the reason we're doing this is so our team is, but again, I've been doing this for 17 years. So for me, it's really easy to go through that. But as we bring on new agents, we want them to visually have this menu of services. Okay, at this commission, you get all of this. At this commission, you get all this. And at this commission, you get all this, whether it's from staging to our new program that we have with Zillow, the showcase listing, which I think is an incredible opportunity that we have within our brokerage. And just, whether we're going to help freshen up the mulch or the landscaping, which especially going into spring, that's a big thing that really helps present the home, line up cleaning. We're kind of like GCs in a way too. So that's, we're the whole idea is that we're trying to make this a really streamlined process. And we have for a long time, but now we're putting it visually in front of them versus just talking about it. And then that way they know like, oh, wow, by listening with these guys, they really do take care of everything. Yes, it comes at a cost.
Of course.
But it's the whole idea is to take the whole stress, second guessing for them, the client, out of it too.
Yep.
Now I don't work with a lot of buyers. I rarely do. Obviously our team does too. So I am excited to see what all comes up with that. But that's just going to come with practice. It was funny. I was, Alex Hermosi posted something, and it was something like, do something so much and so often to where it just becomes boring.
Yeah.
Right. And that is so in line with what we kind of talk about
all the time.
Malcolm Gladwell in the book Outliers talks about the 10,000 hour rule, where, that's the amount of hours you got to put into something before you become like an expert or really like professional level. And, and then it just becomes boring, but you're doing most of these successful people we know, which I'm always impressed with. They have some of the most basic schedules, and they're
so disciplined.
And from 8 till noon, that's when they put in their work, and then the rest of their day, they're done.
Yeah.
And then that gives them freedom to work on buyer presentation, listing presentation, all these things too.
Yeah.
So,
or spend time with their family or friends or travel or,
good balance.
read a book or sometimes it's difficult as a salesperson, right? Because we're all in sales, right? It doesn't matter what your position is, you're selling something, right? But salespeople normally don't have that ability to sit down and stay disciplined because they have ADHD or they have something else on their mind.
They're chasing shiny objects.
They're chasing shiny objects. There's an email, a text, right? We get a notification. It's like, how do I get more productivity out of the day? Well, if you eliminated distractions, you'd be very productive. The problem is you want these distractions because you want to be reactive. Yeah. You secretly want to be bothered.
Subconsciously, whatever.
Yeah. Well, because if you feel like you're needed, you're wanted, you feel important. We all want to feel important. It doesn't matter who we are. Like if you got something at work, somebody told you a compliment, you want to tell someone, like you feel good. You want to tell your significant other or a friend or a family member. You call your mom and say, hey, at work they said I was the best, whatever, or I was the first to show up. It doesn't matter, but you want to share that. Like we want to be, creatures that share things. But today it seems like a lot of people want to find this shortcut to success. And if they can try to find some hack, right? But you got to remember, like every hack that comes up, someone could hack better than you. But if you take the time to learn a disciplined skill, that's irreplaceable. But it's tough to explain that to people when you're like, hey, you're not going to earn money for 3 months, 6 months, a year when they're broke.
But also to get that skill is by putting it into practice and failing over and over again. And then you learn from those mistakes. And then, like we've always talked about with our agents, the skill a lot of times will come.
Yeah.
It's most of the time it's just actually doing the activity. But back to you going to this conference, like there's all these things that gets thrown at you.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So again, being able to identify, okay, here's the 2 things that we're going to focus on. This is what our team's going to focus on because this is a need in our marketplace.
Yes.
And it was perfect timing because the NAR lawsuit just came out. And so we are assuming what's going to happen down the road. We want to make sure we really have that presentation locked in.
Yep.
So buyers see the value, and listing agents can provide and show that value to those sellers. So same. Those are the things that we're going to focus on too. And guess what too? The other thing I would imagine is we're going to do this for 6 months. We're going to test it.
Yeah. See if it works.
We're going to see what isn't working and we're going to tweak it. Yeah. And then we'll go another 6 months and then we'll tweak it again.
Yeah.
So we're constantly, we're very fluid with it. I feel like, we're a very fluid team as far as like we have our base core things of the direction we're going, but we definitely will.
It's not one straight and narrow path.
Yeah. We're zigzagging.
Zigzagging all over the place.
For sure.
We're like off-roading, if you will. It's like, most people are confused by it. I just finished interviews with, bringing on new admin, and that was like a constant question was, how do you feel about change? And you got to go deeper and deeper, because if you just ask a generic question like, how do you feel about change? Oh yeah, I love change. No, I want to tell you about, you have a way that you drive to work and there's construction. How do you not freak out, lose your mind? And are you open to learning new pathways to get to work, right? Like that's a better way to ask, because people hate construction, right? And they get really upset. So really it's like, are you okay with construction driving to and from work? Does that drive you crazy? And it's a simple question. People that are like, no, I hate construction. But the people that are like, actually gives me an opportunity to find a different route, those are the people you want to work with. Problem solvers, not problem bringers. There's a lot of people in life that bring you problems and haven't done a dang thing to figure out what it is. They're like, hey, here, your systems are all messed up. Okay, what have you done about it? Well, nothing. I just bringing it to your attention.
Yeah.
You need problem solvers. What's interesting is a lot of the people that have been applying lately, and this is some of the highest quality I've seen in years. I've had recruiters reach out to me nonstop because they also are finding that employers are very overwhelmed because there's so many good qualified people. Like the level of quality that I've been interviewing has been insane on all levels.
Well, you got like 100 plus solid applicants.
160 people in less than a week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it wasn't just like people clicking the button, like I'm talking like bachelor's degrees, 15 years, 20 years experience, like some of the highest experience I've ever seen. So it's good and bad because it's raising the level of, expectation, but you've tasked me, and I think it's like bringing on more realtors. Every time we bring on more realtors, we ask them to do different things, and then they go to the other real estate agents who are like, well, how come they didn't do this? Well, how come they didn't have to make as many calls or be in the office or do these? And it's because we're raising the expectations and they didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So when we bring on our new set of people, we're raising the huge
But
expectations.
and with that though too is like what's happened with us too. Again, I know we've talked about this before, but it raised, then by default it just raises the whole team's performance, because then the agents that were brought on like say the older standards expectations, they see that and they're like, oh yeah, we should probably do that, right? Or jump into that. So because we're digressing a little bit, but back to the buyer consultation. Do you have like, because again, in my mind, when I hear that, like, I don't necessarily think of like, okay, we got this exact presentation we're going to work on. A lot of it, I do believe, is going to be, breaking down like, okay, here's what we do. Right. And when I would work with a lot of buyers, especially when like Zillow and Realtor were all coming out, it's like, guys, like my value isn't really finding you the house. Now, in a COVID low inventory market, there is a value for us, and that is the advantage of being at Berkshire Hathaways, because we do a massive number of office exclusive no shows. Basically, they're just available to our Berkshire Hathaway agents. So there's a lot of those private sales. And I think when Vince last looked at it, it was like, I mean, we had like 500 million in sales in that, which would have made just our office exclusive sales like the 5th largest brokerage in Omaha. So there's definitely an advantage to that. But in a normal market, when inventory is healthy, like our advantage isn't like, we're not necessarily going to find you a home. We're going to keep an eye out for you, but there's so many awesome resources out there today. And every listing gets fed to all these services within seconds. Basically, like they're going to most likely find the house. So that's not necessarily our value. It's to navigate them through
the experience. It's explaining the contract. It's explaining, how does an appraisal work? How does termite work? How does getting insurance work? I mean, insurance is pretty simple, but again, it's connecting the dots. It's being a solution finder. If they walk into a house, maybe they've lived in an apartment before, they don't understand that they're going to have to be responsible for fixing the air conditioner, or they're going to be responsible for the yard, or they're going to be responsible for painting the house. It's not like when you move into an apartment and you say, well, here's some changes I want to make, and somebody does it. So the most value we've seen is, can you explain the contract? Can you explain what's the affordability? And then can you provide a solution? Because when people walk in, they don't see a big picture. They're like, oh, I don't like the carpet. But we know that's easily changeable. Right? So like our biggest value is providing, like you said, the GC work. We're providing those resources and contacts. And sometimes it's not just, hey, here's the number, Adam, call them. It's, hey, I've called these 2 people. We've had great reviews from them. I recommend you contact one of these 2. Roughly, here's the cost. And now you just cut a ton of work out, because the buyers don't want to do that. But what I see it as is, I see it as a magazine that we're creating. I see it as some easy call to action items. This is what we do. This is what we provide. Here's what separates us from the other people. And then here's a presentation. If somebody wants to run the presentation, great. Here's a set of questions every buyer asks. Here's the answers to them. So we want to answer all the questions clients have before they ask. And we want to try to provide a better experience, because we want it to be the best experience buying a house, because they could buy a house with anybody.
And again, starting in July, we'll be forced to have them sign an exclusive contract. So we better make darn sure we're really good at presenting that. It's probably going to be some role playing too.
Absolutely.
Every agent loves to do role plays.
Oh, they love role plays. They love role plays. They don't like that, but it's part of it. Who do you want to practice? Do you want to practice in front of the client, or do you want to practice in front of somebody that you know? Right? Like that's really
I would actually rather practice on the client personally and then fail in front of them than someone I know. That's me. But
well,
yours is a more logical and rational approach for sure.
Well, it's different again too, because these people, maybe this is their first time going out and asking for a signature, right? And saying like, hey, here's what I'm worth. Because again, there's 4,000 realtors in Omaha alone, and there's not 4,000 homes for sale.
The other thing too, I would love to explore on that whole buyer consultation, especially with first-time home buyers, is bringing mom and dad into the mix right away. And the reason why is because we just sold one of our flips, and buyer bought it, loved the house, and then fast forward literally 6 hours, I get a text from the agent saying, well, mom and dad just drove by and it's in like Field Club area. It's a great little area.
Yeah, that's a great area.
Like I would have my kids live there all day long, no problem. But Teach their own. Mom and dad drives by. They're like, nope, we don't feel safe. We don't feel good about our kids living in this area. And I don't know the buyers. I don't know I don't even really know the agent that well. And I certainly don't know the parents.
Sure.
And so, I could have been a little bit of a jerk and held them to the fire, but I don't operate that way. Like, hey, just send over the release, no big deal.
Yeah.
Meaning parents got involved. They didn't even go to the house. They just drove by like, nope, we don't like it.
Yep.
So almost it's like, how do you get mom and dad involved right away on especially first-time home buyers to handle any objections? Like, hey, mom and dad are going to have an influence on first-time home buyers' decisions. They are. It's the reality of it.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of memes out there between agents and how mom and dads come in and can kill the deal.
Oh, totally.
But that's also goes back to us making sure we're offering those solutions to that.
Well, and it's maybe the realtors knew and they didn't ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And maybe they forced their hand and said, hey, you better write this because it's going to go in 3 days.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because we are up to what Janelle was saying, up to 400,000, maybe more. Like, she's still seeing like a large number of multiple offers.
Yeah.
Is dealing when she's talking to the agents too.
You're talking sometimes 6 to 8 deals.
Yeah. The one she was telling me about on Friday had 7 offers on it, and it was like a high threes house in Omaha.
So it's still super competitive. It's just a matter of like, again, if you have an experienced realtor, again, it'd be like an attorney, right? This is the easiest way to think about it is if I had an attorney that was maybe more experienced or had necessarily the knowledge, they might be able to make an argument, right, in court on my behalf that maybe somebody who was inexperienced would miss out on.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why you want to pay a qualified attorney. Same with a realtor. Like, you think that at the end of the day, you're still going to get into your house, but a confident and competent realtor will get you in the house probably less expensive, right? They'll find a better negotiation tactic. They'll get more things repaired or fixed. They'll get your closing date, and they'll work around. They'll represent you higher than somebody who's just got their license last month and they're just like, thank God I got a sale.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's be honest.
Well, because there are definitely things within a contract that you can do to increase your chances of getting it.
Absolutely.
By not necessarily just increasing the price.
Yeah.
Because I know Janelle's made many tweaks with some of our newer agents, and it's what got them the deal done.
Exactly. And it's not price. Because again, we've seen...
Yeah, it's a term thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a term thing. It's like, what's your biggest pain point? And let's just say they're like, we really want, again, small. Mine was when I moved out, I wanted the offer to have my washing machine and my dryer not included. It was literally that simple. Again, not that expensive. But the offer that came through that I accepted was the washer and dryer I could take with. Everybody else's offer wanted to take it. Seems small, seems stupid, but I paid a lot and I wanted to do it at the time.
You liked your washer and dryer.
Yeah. And Amanda, she found her way and we got rid of them. But here's something I want to talk about that I saw at Maverick, and I think you'll connect with this too, is Brandon, right? And I always say his last name wrong. Brittingham.
Yeah.
He did such a fantastic job of presenting on stage. I mean, it's like...
Got you all fired up.
He just got you all fired up in a good way. And one of the things that he mentioned was you need to give flowers to people not when they're on their deathbed or passing away. You don't want to say all your compliments to somebody at their eulogy. And I was like, man, just sit in that and think of that. Like, because what we do is we have a lot of people around our lives and we don't take the time to recognize and acknowledge the little things. And we don't say, for example, like, we really appreciated you setting up the microphones today, Andy, or we appreciate you getting the stuff on the screen. I'm looking at the screen and literally Andy does a good job of putting topics up to remind us, right? But my point is, like, we don't do a great job with our family and friends of really identifying and telling them how much they mean to us and how much we care about them. We just do a good, like, a simple thank you, great job, right? So, like, one of the things that he said was, the people that are surrounded by you will stay with you longer, will work harder on your behalf when you're not around, and will actually go out of their way if you recognize them on the simple terms instead of like explaining it like this. Our life is busy. We have a lot going on. We have 50 realtors. We've got, I don't know how many employees, and we got how many businesses. But like, if we don't recognize our people on their good days and their bad days, they're going to feel like you don't care. And they're going to feel like somebody else is going to give them that carrot or that cookie.
You're talking like from doing that with your agents or just like your clients or anyone?
I think
everyone. Yeah.
I think if like at the end of the day, if your heart is there to help humans and society move forward, you're going to do right in life, right? And how many times have we heard that if you think that, a lot of the times that if you're cutthroat or you're mean or if you're only focused on the numbers of the business, you'll end up being miserable in life, right? Like how many people have you met, Adam, that have all the money in the world and they're miserable?
Yep. A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Right? So Brenda did a really good job of kind of like just grounding us in his presentation and saying like, an example is we have Janelle, let's just say on the team, and she hasn't been our sales manager or coach, if you will, for a long time. But let's just say she was with us for 3 years or 5 years or 8 years, and she helped us get our business to the next stratosphere, and we got to 4,000 units or something like that, right? Like if we help identify the things that she does well today, she's going to get us to that number. But we might actually lose Janelle if we don't identify those things today, right? Like it's the same with like Brittany on our team. I mean, how many times have we been put into a corner with Brittany, right, our admin, and she saved the day?
Mm-hmm.
So many times. But if we ever called her and sat down with her and looked her eye to eye and said like, we probably would be hurting without you. Like instead of having the mentality like you're replaceable, you're all like we can always get to the next level without somebody else. If we did a better job of identifying some of those things, people might actually work harder for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So, it's something to really think about is like, how many people are you recognizing in your life? And sometimes it's even just your family, right? Like you go back to your kids and just like sitting with them for a minute and saying like, I really enjoy that you do this, this makes you unique. I couldn't imagine what my life would be like. Like me personally, I couldn't imagine what I'd be like without Olivia and Shay.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about it, right? Like and people say that kids are stressful and we get stressed and they fight with us, right? Let me throw shit against the wall. We're like, oh my God, like how do we do this? But it's like, if you just focus on what they do right, you'll be happier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just really sad with me.
Yeah,
So,
that is a good point.
yeah, it's just something
That's definitely something I could work on for sure.
Well, I think we all could. And I'm always first to say, like John will say all the time, you hire in their competition, right? And with competition breeds better results. I'm not saying you don't focus on accountability because I feel like accountability is the highest form of love. But I think at the end of the day, if we did a better job of just recognizing our people for what they do, you might change their whole life or you might change their whole day. If we can impact people on their off days, they'll perform at a higher level. So I feel like we've been focusing on that more though, right? Like we're asking our employees, we're asking our staff, like let us know what's going on in their personal lives so we can jump in more.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this before, but that was something I wanted to bring up from Maverick. So there's a few things I think about when it comes to like John Cheplak. He focuses on your mind, your spiritual, your health, and your body. Like how can you be the best yourself to impact other people, right? That's his main point. And then the second thing I thought about was buyers and sellers consultations. If we do a better job as a team and we can elevate ourselves from where we are to a higher end experience, we're going to do better for our realtors, our clients, and our community. And then the third thing that I took away from that Maverick experience is don't be anybody else, be yourself. So go there with open arms and know that everyone's going to be giving you something. And then the last thing is if you identify something small with somebody, give them the recognition they deserve that moment, and they'll work harder when you're not around. So those are the main points that stuck out to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, but you can really, the last comment you made, which I'm looking to see if it's on the notes anywhere, but, what did you say last? Something I'm like, I mean, because a lot of this stuff, it applies to the leadership team within the team.
Yeah.
It applies to your agents, and then it definitely applies to your clients too.
Uh-huh.
Like take these principles, just like how your job is to recruit and bring in more agents, right? Sure. Well, a lot of times we'll compare what you do to what the agents do.
Yep.
Right? Like, guys, you're essentially doing what Kobe's doing. You're recruiting in more good clients to your pipeline but it takes doing these activities. It's the boring activities.
Yeah.
So I like the identifying where they're at in that moment. And again, really doing that to a client too goes a long ways. It's just like when a client gives me a referral, I don't give them anything crazy. I got those little treat boxes that we do.
Yeah,
you
those
know
are cool.
that I'm going on a listing tomorrow night, and it was referred by a kind of a past client, not even really a past client, more just a an acquaintance, really. But he's actually sent me a number of referrals, and it's just rewarding that behavior too, and just saying, hey, thank you for. It's again nothing crazy. So he's like, think of like Starbucks cake pops.
Oh yeah.
You've seen them.
Yeah.
And they're delicious.
They're good.
And might get diabetes from eating a bunch of them, but it's so I put an order in to get one of those made. I'll be dropping off into this week just to say, hey, thanks for that. But yeah, no, I get that.
Well, and what's unique about real estate is it's not like a normal job. What's cool about it is, right, I can tell you, I worked at AT&T, right? I worked at Verizon. I worked at Best Buy. So when I sold somebody a cell phone, if you think of the number of times a day someone uses a cell phone, and like you FaceTime your kids or you FaceTime Stacy, right? Or whatever it may be, like it's cool that what I sold impacted their life. But again, I don't see them again. The difference with your job and the company we're in is we're impacting these people's lives because you're creating memories, but you're also able to get to know them on a personal level. Like a lot of the clients you either are personal friends with, you've had dinner with, you've gone on vacations with, like you know them on a deeper level. That's what's cool about real estate is you get to know people on a deeper level, and it's not just, oh, he's my cell phone guy, he's my insurance agent. Like your real estate agent typically can be one of your closest friends or one of your closest allies that you reach out to, right? Because you're reaching out to a realtor during the time of need, divorce, death, marriage, kids, maybe their kids are going off to college, right? Like, and you're normally reaching out during a huge life event. And that's not like a cell phone. Like, again, no one's going to be like, oh, I got the iPhone 15 because I had a third child and now I need to switch from the iPhone 14, right? Like, it's just kind of interesting to see how much impact we have. But what John does a really good job of it, we just did a one-on-one with him here last week, and John always does such a great job of talking to us, and it's never related to real estate.
Yeah.
It's never about real estate. It really isn't. I mean, he's literally like, he's just reminding us constantly about how we can get better at our lives. For example, like if Adam does his job and he calls, let's just say Tabby, who sold 4 houses in a week, right? Like how much do you think that impacts Tabby by you recognizing her and telling her that she mattered?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yep.
everything to her.
Yep.
But to us, it's like, oh, well, like it's just another person. But to her, it's huge.
But it goes back to like we all get busy and go 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Because the things that you and I are doing, we are looking at new higher level things. Like what are the big shiny objects? Now, doesn't mean we still do our best to stay focused in doing the small things that move the numbers, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we got to make sure we're always focused on that, but we do allocate time to do those certain things. But it's a lot of just, it's being reminded of those little things that we know and already know deep down. It's just sometimes we do get sidetracked too. Yep. So, I mean, again, to go back to the buyer presentation, the listing presentation, there's a few new things that we are doing on the listing side. I can't imagine we're going to add anything crazy on the buyer side. It's just really breaking down how the NAR stuff changes the industry.
Yep.
Explaining that to the client.
Yep.
And what that means for them and what it means to really represent them and all the things that go into. And we have really good marketing material on that already, but we're going to really make sure that we're role playing that, putting that into practice. Again, I don't see there's going to be anything crazy new on the buyer side. It's really just going through and like working through from start to finish what it means to work with us versus maybe someone else or maybe not having any representation at all.
Yeah.
And going and doing
just
it on their
scary to
own.
think about.
Yeah. I mean, most people use an agent anyway. So, and then on the listing side is making sure that we are like, we always try to keep our eye out, like, is there anything new that we should be looking at? Like we were looking at homes.com, for example.
Totally.
And, that's going to be, they're spending massive amounts of money. And so it's definitely something we're keeping our eye on. We're not jumping on the bandwagon yet.
Not yet.
just because we don't necessarily see the value in it.
Not today.
Not yet. Doesn't mean that won't change in 6 months or 6 years,
Yep.
but that is definitely something that we're always trying to keep an eye out too. But again, we're sticking to the core things.
Yep.
It's just working on the presentation.
Yep.
And practicing that over and over again to where you're really good at it too.
Yep.
And it's boring. It's super boring.
Well, it's like I've done a buyer's presentation. I've done a listing presentation, right? So and normally what's interesting is usually veteran agents or realtors that have been in it for a while have bad habits and they don't realize they're cutting corners or they're leaving money on the table, right? Like, and we have a lot of different things that are required on the contract. And sometimes we're rushing through the contract. Or an example that I thought of was when a real estate agent shows up at their house and then says, hey, we can get it live for you on Friday, right?
Yeah.
But it's not painted, it's not cleaned, it's not ready, and our photographer shows up and it's not ready. Is that a good representation of the client or our brand or our company? Yeah, we got the contract, but we showed up too early.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just those little things where a realtor's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, maybe the client would be upset if we showed up. I thought it showed initiative because we had the photographer there the next day. It showed initiative, but it actually might have impacted the client in a negative way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I got a text this morning from a seller that I believe she's going to list with me. I don't have a commitment yet, but I feel good about it. But she upstairs, her house needs repainted and it needs new carpet. And she did say like, hey, I'm going to I'm going to put the basement's not finished essentially. So she's like, I'm going to finish off. I'm going to, it was finished, but there was carpet that had to be ripped out because there was some flooding.
Oh, sure.
But the carpet upstairs is 20 years old. I mean, it definitely needs to be replaced.
That's a long time.
And she was like, I'm going to put carpet in downstairs and in that basement bedroom. So I called her up and I'm like, hey, just a heads up. Like, if you're like, what about the upstairs carpet? What about the upstairs paint? No, I'm going to leave that the same. I'm like, well, if you're going to spend money, I would rather see you from an agent's perspective to add value, focus on the area that's already finished. Get that good because it will just present itself because buyers will then say, oh, you got nice carpet downstairs, but I still now have to do the main level where it's going to be easier for you to just clean the basement, make it super easy for them to put the carpet in and then have brand new carpet upstairs.
There's some psychology behind that.
Yeah,
there's
totally.
Literally psychology behind that. Seeing finished space and it looks nice versus an unfinished space that's kind of thrown together.
Well, or it's finished and then upstairs is still
like a nightmare.
Oh, man, I still have to do carpet. I still have to do paint. Like I promise you it will be a much better investment to focus on the upstairs level than to even touch downstairs.
Exactly.
If you only have X amount of money, focus on upstairs because it's already finished. That's where buyers are going to spend their time anyway. So yeah, it's those types of things too. And that goes to buyers even of where to spend their money to maximize their value as they own the home over the course of their ownership.
Well, it's like, Again, it's you presenting this to the client versus an inexperienced realtor would be like, oh yeah, like whatever you think. They don't know any different, right? So again, if you don't have an expert in your corner explaining that, you're not going to have good representation. Right. And then my thought on that is a real estate agent should be constantly explaining, like a financial advisor, constantly explaining what is your home worth, what is the value, and then what is smart equity, and then maybe what isn't smart equity. In some places, it's like maybe solar panels make sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense in Omaha. Maybe a pool does. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe a third bedroom. And clients all the time are trying to figure out, well, I thought this would add value, and you do a good job of explaining, actually, this isn't good value. This would be smarter investment.
Yeah, and we just know that just because by flipping a lot of homes, you know what buyers are really looking for. But to that, the home equity reports.
Yes.
And, that's something too that I feel, because a lot of buyers, if they're getting a loan and they're only putting 10% down, well, they have PMI, right? So a common conversation I have with a lot of those previous clients are, okay, what's my house worth? Like, does it make sense to reach out to the bank to get that PMI off? Save them, a few $100 too. So I just had that conversation 2 weeks ago. So, and he's at a point where
it makes sense to do it.
Yeah, it makes sense to start that conversation with his bank. So saves him some money.
So those are the things that people don't realize realtors do, right? Like how many people get tax increases, right? The last few years. And a lot of clients will call their realtor and be like, how do I fight this? Do I have to pay this, right? Like, again, an experienced realtor will explain, here's what your options are.
Yeah.
And we did a bunch of meetings on it, actually.
Yeah. Well, the bad thing is the last few years is that what their taxes went up, and hopefully Douglas County doesn't listen to this, but their taxes went up and it was still significantly lower than what they could sell it for in today's market.
Totally.
So a lot of them were pleasantly surprised by that, but they're also like, well, darn it. And so, you know, I told a ton of clients, like, guys, like, I don't think this is a fight you'll win, because as I look at the comps quickly, like, you're still probably, a lot of times there's 100, 200,000 less than what their home would be worth in today's market. And so they're like, okay, we're not going to go down that path.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Well, I mean, so to wrap this up, right, with Maverick, I think the big thing is there's tons of shiny objects. Realtors love to chase shiny objects. So I think, you know, part of my job and your job and the leadership team is to sniff out what are those shiny objects? How do we stay ahead of them? How do we keep innovating and creating things that the realtors can bring to clients that no one else is doing without them chasing it? And then we need to be reminded more, not new material, reminded more of the stuff we've already been told. And then if we can get all of our people, not just realtors, everyone in our lives, to be okay with boring, mundane, disciplined work, we would have much better lives. We would be more disciplined. That's easier said than done. It's not easy, right? But there's that. And then the last thing is elevating our buyers and sellers consultations to make our realtors stand out and to provide a better experience in the community. Like, we're here to set the bar or change the expectations of what it takes to be with a client and realtor relationship in Nebraska and Iowa.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So no secrets, no hidden agendas. There wasn't like any like, hey, do this and you're going to be a millionaire. Those conferences I don't attend, I don't go to. John's literally like, stop drinking, read more books, and work harder and smarter for your people. I mean, it's crazy, the stuff that he tells you to do.
Yeah. Most of the real estate conferences you go to, it's like everyone goes out super late, they're drinking.
Yeah.
And you come back feeling like crap.
And you don't remember anything. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I had a good time. But what did I bring back? Nothing.
Yeah. Everyone's in bed by 9 and they're up at like 4 o'clock to do their workout, and then they go to the event.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. They're like at the gym working out at 4, and it's like, what is going on here? It's the opposite of what every real estate conference is.
Yeah, it's good.
It's pretty cool. So appreciate you guys tuning in, checking us out, and look forward to seeing y'all soon.
All right, mate.